America's only movie star Glenn Powell returns with a new entry in his filmography. How to Make a Killing. So Aiden, what is the plot of How to Make a Killing?
Glenn Powell is a down on his luck man who had his parents die when he was young, but he is the sort of outcast member of a rich family, and whichever family member is the oldest one living when Ed Helms dies becomes a billionaire. And so, he comes up with a simple plan. Kill his cousins and uncles and grandfather, who's played by Ed Helms, so that he can make a killing. Connor, what'd you think of How to Make a Killing?
I liked it. It was fun. It had a lot of actors that were pretty solid in it. I like Glenn Powell. He's kind of like Tom Cruise. He's not exactly like the best actor, but he's got that movie star charisma you don't see much anymore of. So ungodly ripped, man, that he just doesn't even look like a real human being. He looks strange, sort of. And then there's Margaret Qualley doing her standard shtick. The lady from Iron Fist, whose name escapes me. Review on that show coming soon. Slowly but surely. You got fucking Topher Grace.
Yeah.
Just a bunch of people, and it's kind of one of those movies where everyone's kind of a cartoon character. Topher Grace, for example, is a priest who exploits the people in his church and is just basically a con man at a super church. You got his other cousin played by Office guy whose name escapes me. Late season Office guy.
Dweeby guy from Silicon Valley.
Yeah. He's in a bunch of shit, but he plays a pretentious art dude, and there's just all sorts of interesting cartoon characters. Glenn Powell basically gets addicted to killing because he thinks it's fun. And he's a charismatic asshole who the movie really frames as you wanting to see him succeed, and quite frankly you do, because Glenn Powell's got the charisma. The movie's like, this guy's a fucking psychopath, but at the same time you should really like him because it's Glenn Powell, and the movie's right. The movie's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just fun. It's told through this mechanism where Glenn Powell's kind of narrating it to a priest, or like telling the story to a priest when he's on death row, and there's a couple twists and turns, but by and large it's this basic description of how Glenn Powell comes up in the world by being a psycho killer who kills his cousins and kind of just tries to leech his way to the top. And when he gets to the top, Ed Helms is like, yeah, you pretty much did what you're supposed to do to be super rich. Good job, buddy. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. I actually really don't have that much to say. The trailer looked like it was shot on film. I think it might have been, but it was a little less obvious watching it in the theater. But it was a pretty fun time. It's not too deep, which is kind of a concern of like an A24 movie where they try to get some sort of deep social message. I didn't really know what we were getting in terms of it, but really this was just supposed to be a high-paced, fun, dark comedy, I suppose, yeah. Kind of, it's sort of its own thing, but it's definitely like Coen Brothers, back when they were good, inspired.
Yeah, little flavors of American Psycho and
you got American
Wolf of Wall Street.
I was gonna say American Psycho. I was definitely getting that, not just because Glenn Powell goes to work on Wall Street, but it's just sort of like these upper class people that would kind of be admired typically.
Yeah.
In a way, and they're just crazy fucking psychos, and that's how they got there. Now, granted, unlike, American Psycho's framed from the idea of, like, you become successful in these kind of sociopathic industries where you're sort of leeching off other people and taking advantage of other people. Sort of the Wolf of Wall Street angle of this movie is more of like coming to that and like sacrificing your morals to become that. Or perhaps you didn't really have morals and you're just a weird psychopath because of your circumstances, or maybe you're just a psychopath by birth. But these people are also psychos, so it's okay. And it's fun because it's Glenn Powell. But, it's sort of in that same vein as like a Wolf of Wall Street or an American Psycho. Although with sort of a twist to it. But yeah, I was drawing some comparisons in my mind to American Psycho. A little bit different, but that same sort of vibe.
With the structure of Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
It pretty much does have the structure of Scott Pilgrim. Actually, in a lot of ways, because Scott Pilgrim's like, Scott Pilgrim has got to fight for his lover.
It's like the anti-Scott Pilgrim.
Each character, pretty much.
He fights a bunch of cartoon characters to get a bunch of money.
He fights a bunch of cartoon characters to get a bunch of money instead of when his true love was at home. Where Scott Pilgrim's like, she's my real love. My weird, emo, alt love. And she has a bunch of crazy dudes that she was dating and now I have to kill them. But the idea is similar where it's like almost, each one is sort of treated like an operation or like a boss or something in a video game. Or its own episode of this weird compilation of short stories of how he gains the trust of people and does wacky kills, and you sort of have this looming FBI presence and at some point he's getting caught. The part where he's actually caught is kind of a twist, which is sort of fun. But, yeah. No, I thought it was a pretty good film overall. It's mostly just fun. I wouldn't necessarily call it one of my favorites of the year, but I found it to be very good and very fun. It's a good hour 40. It's also fairly brisk at an hour 45 minutes, but it's sort of packed with content, but everything moves at such a fast pace that it feels like it accomplished what a modern movie would typically take 2.5 hours to accomplish. Like, I could see a lot of directors doing this same concept and taking 3 times longer with it and making it way more boring, but this is very much like, here's 15 minutes with me hanging out with this cousin and then I kill him, or this is my weird uncle Topher Grace and I'm hanging out with him for 15 minutes and then he dies and blah blah blah. So overall, I thought it was good. So Aiden, what did you think of How to Make a Killing?
How to Make a Killing is short and sweet and gets to the point. It really does just kind of fly through it. There's maybe 15-20 minutes of setup and then pretty much every 10 to 15 minutes from there we get another scene of Glenn Powell's wacky hijinks.
It's got slasher film pacing after that.
Sometimes I was thinking it might be nice to slow down and
smell the roses a bit.
I don't know. I guess all the characters are cartoon characters and you're given good reasons to hate them, and the one guy you don't hate you're given good reasons to not hate, but man, this movie is just it's so quick, but in a pleasant way, It easily could have been dragged out too far. It's silly. It's funny. Very well shot with lots of silly little visual gags like the recurring funerals over and over again, and from the title and honestly the first 3 minutes you can get the main gist of what the movie's about and where it's going largely, although there are some little twists and turns with Margaret Qualley's character and his other love interest. It's fun. I had fun. I laughed. It's nice and to the point, and Glenn Powell is the charming, charismatic man, and lots of good little character actors to play the evil cousins and uncles. You know, Topher Grace has probably the funniest role in the movie,
Yeah.
where he's just a full-blown schizo. But
One thing I think I would change is, or maybe it's just kind of the format of the movie, which might be unfortunate, but, and this is similar to Scott Pilgrim, but each side character is like a chapter of a book. I mean, Margaret Qualley and his girlfriend, Iron Fist's girlfriend, is they're consistently in the film throughout, but they're really, and then his uncle who he likes. Those are the three side characters in the movie. But man, I would have liked maybe Topher Grace hanging around, get more from the people at like the funerals or something to kind of foreshadow the characters. Because like,
yeah, I think after
Topher Grace, I think has maybe 6 minutes of screen time, and I'm like, man, I just want a fucking Topher Grace
I
movie.
think maybe after the
Free my
first
man.
throwaway death, they maybe should have had a little scene where he meets everyone at the funeral and gets an idea of their vibe or something. But
Yeah. Or when he's like more integrated into the family or
yeah, once the
whatever.
uncle takes him under the wing, he meets him here and there.
The grandfather's the final boss, and I liked his setup. But yeah, like Topher Grace and stuff, and a lot of the family members I would have liked just a bit more on.
Yeah.
Not that
did
it
just
was
get-
really needed. I think it was in service of the movie they were trying to tell are these like episodic or chapter vignettes for a handful of quirky characters that end
You
up
get a 2-minute rundown of the
getting
cartoon
axed.
character he's gonna kill, and that's good enough.
and then he does shtick with them for 3 or 4 minutes, then they die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also,
Every
maybe,
time I see Topher Grace in a movie, I'm like, I want more Topher.
yeah.
I want more of Tobifer.
Also, I think maybe you could have made the deaths a bit wackier in most scenarios. I mean,
Yeah.
this is already kind of a wacky movie, but he poisons like 4 of them. You could probably, like, you can't have a scene where Topher Grace is swinging around a katana and not have him, like, accidentally kill himself with a katana or something. And it
Yeah.
just works out for Glenn Powell. I mean, it's not like the movie's not already fucking silly.
He's like, and then I fucking poisoned him like every other character I killed in this movie.
Hey, he gets...
Yeah, I wouldn't
The
have
first
minded,
kill's
especially
wacky.
with R-rated. I would have minded seeing more like when they got Silicon Valley Office guy who blows up. Like, I wouldn't have minded. I would have been fine with a screaming, burning CGI corpse for a couple seconds.
Yeah, I'm gonna turn into a cartoon
Even
skeleton
though real-
like in Spider-Man.
Yeah, you know, obviously in real life he'd just go in the fetal position and stop moving after a couple seconds, but when his body went into total shock about 5 seconds before he died. But I wouldn't have minded him running around on fire and then turning into a skeleton,
Yeah.
a CGI skeleton like Spider-Man.
Would have been based.
I felt like the wacky deaths were earned. Give me those malignant deaths. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Give me those cornball death scenes. But I suppose since it wasn't a horror movie, they're like, this is a dark comedy, not a horror movie. You're not allowed to have Topher Grace accidentally behead himself with a samurai sword.
Yeah, it would have been funny. But yeah, it's fun. It was a lot of fun actually. It's pretty good. Connor, would you recommend How to Make a Killing?
Yes, I would recommend How to Make a Killing. It's a fun movie. It's something a little bit different. It's got a lot of similarities to, Scott Pilgrim. It kind of is tangentially similar to like Wolf of Wall Street and American Psycho, but it's just kind of it's a very like loose and fun like money ruins people type of movie. Like the general moral is money ruins people, and we're gonna do it in the most like goofy way possible. And I thought the movie turned out pretty well. So I would recommend it. So Aiden, would you recommend How to Make a Killing?
Yeah, I had a lot of fun with it. It's It's a little silly, a little messy. Probably could have been touched up in a few areas, but I had a good time with it. Simple as that. It's a lot of fun.